What's up everyone, Lion Roar here, and we have a couple brand new legendary heroes in the Sanctuary of Gargoyles event. It is Kemény and Matrera, so of course I'm going to break them down and give them some grades. But first, download Gemstone Legends, a mobile RPG puzzle match game. Use the link in the description to start with free stuff, including a bonus hero. Alright, so Kemény is a 5-star dark hero, purple, in other words, part of the sorcerer class, which I think is an underrated class. It's not one of the best classes, I'd say it's average, but I also think that it's a little underrated. There doesn't tend to be a whole lot of amazing sorcerers in Empires and Puzzles, so it's one that is possible to have a lot of emblems available for, potentially, so that's something to consider. Of course, there is a Gargoyle family bonus to all these heroes, so I'm only going to go over this once because it affects all of them the same. But basically, you get a bonus for having 1, 2, or 3 heroes from the Gargoyle family. The first one makes your hero immune to poison. The second one makes you immune to both poison and burn. And then the third one makes you immune to poison, burn, and water damage. So I would say of all the family bonuses, this is probably not the strongest, but there is more burn in the game than there is anything else. So it is helpful to have at least 2 heroes on the same team to be immune to burn. And I think that's something that a lot of players will probably overlook, especially if you have these heroes on defense. If you compare a couple together, and they might accidentally bring a burn hero along, like Emilio, for example, that will do nothing against them. So that is something to consider. And then of course there's also event bonuses that go along with these heroes if you want to use them in the event. We have a passive here, Gargoyle Stone Skin. Every time this Gargoyle casts a special skill, their Stone Skin hardens. The next 4 times they receive damage, it's dropped to 1. This effect can't be dispelled. That's just an insanely good passive. So while the family bonus isn't the strongest, this particular passive is just a real pain to try and deal with during a game. Man, that is probably one of the better passives that's out there. So it definitely outweighs the negative of the family bonus. Now, taking a look at the stats, I do have max power preview on. So if you do get this, and I like to look at this because it's like, is it worth getting this hero and maxing it out? You would get 932 attack, 951 defense, and 1746 HP. And I would suggest going the attack route on this one. You'll see why in just a second. But if we turn max power preview off, regularly it's 813, 799, and 1444. So what's interesting about this to me is it's starting with pretty high HP, but not getting a whole lot of it out of, putting emblems on it. Now, of course, you can choose whether you want to go like sword path or HP path or defense path or whatever. I would go attack primary and defense secondary on this particular one. The special is average speed, cry for absolution, deals 330% damage to all enemies. That's actually quite a lot of damage to hit all enemies. Quite a lot of damage. We don't often see heroes that are hitting all enemies for this high of a percent of damage and with this high of an attack stat. I mean, it's starting without the max power preview over 800 attack. You can get that all the way up over 900, which is absolutely insane. And then deals an additional 65% damage per status ailment the caster has, up to 600. Oh my gosh. Up to 655% damage in total. Dear Lord. So you would have to have a lot of status ailments. It's going to be hard to ever get that 655%, but that would like one-shot a team. Now, this would be an excellent hero to take on offense if you're going against a defense that you know is just full of status ailments, defense debuff, burn, all that kind of stuff. But do take note that that kind of conflicts with its family special. So you're really going to have to strategize and take note of what the status ailments are when you're taking this hero on offense. If you want the burn for the bigger damage, then you don't want to bring multiple gargoyles. You know what I mean? However, there's lots of status ailments, attack down, and things like that. So, do take note of that. However, I think that you can play fun games with this particular effect. If you bring Kill Hair along, you can fire Kill Hair, do a ton of damage, give this guy defense down, which is usually a setback. Like it's usually a disadvantage when you fire off kill hair and your whole rest of your team has to take defense down. But now it helps this guy, so you can just finish the team off. Fire kill hair, fire this guy, and you win, basically. So this is a very simple hero. It's a very, very strong hero. It just comes in and deals a ton of damage. I would use this one on defense. I would put Kemény probably at the right flank. That usually means you're probably going to use a yellow tank, or I mean, you can use any other color really too. It's hard to say that you would use this if you're using purple tanks and putting this at right flank, but you can, especially in wars, like where if everybody's using purple tanks, you know, maybe you can do that. It makes you weak to people bringing in yellow tiles and punching a hole down the middle. However, everybody's yellows are going to be spread thin anyway, so it might not make much of a difference. But another tank color that's being used a lot is red, and so you could definitely put this next to a red hero. Right flank is really good for this one because you want to put the defense debuffers and things like that on the left side, so that hopefully they would fire first before this guy, who will just finish a team off. So I think this is a really strong defensive hero in pretty much every format, whether it's regular or very fast, just by the amount of damage that's being done. This is your finisher. You're going to want some heroes that set up the finisher, but this is the finisher. You're going to see this guy a lot on a lot of defenses, and he's going to wreck teams. And I think because of the average speed, he's also viable on offense, because at this point in time in Empires and Puzzles, average speed's not really average. It's fast. I mean, there's so many ways to bring the mana down to fast speed at this point. You can do it. Like, so, you know, there's a couple different types of mana troops now, and, you know, other ways to pair him with heroes that will make him faster and such, that he's not really average. You can make him go off fast. So, he's going to wreck people when you put him on defense. He's going to wreck people when you take him on offense. You're going to try to do the same strategy on offense where you have other heroes that set him up, you know, give the other team defense down, elemental defense down, give yourself attack increase, something like that, and then just wreck face. You know, to this point, I think he's also going to be good in events, because oftentimes you're trying to clear out waves with a lot of damage and just hit everybody, and he's going to do that. He's going to clear out the whole wave all by himself. He's going to get to that final matchup against the bosses, and he's going to deal a significant amount of damage against them. And also, you know, with this stone skin, he's going to survive. Like, he's going to take very little damage along the way, especially if you have a healer or somebody who's, you know, protecting the team. This guy's just going to live and deal tons of damage. Simple character, very strong one. I am going to give Kemény an A. It's just another example of an overpowered hero that they're releasing every few days now. Do I think he's the best hero in the game? Probably not. Probably not the best hero in the game right now, but they're releasing so many overpowered heroes at this point that you just, you know, add them to the list of recent ones who are very, very strong. The other ones that they've released, you can pair him with them. All right, let's take a look at the next hero. We have Matrera, a 5-star blue hero of the rogue class, which is one of the best classes out there. In the top 3 among fighter and paladin, because hitting Matrera with special skill damage means that oftentimes she's not taking damage, which goes really, really well with that Gargoyles stone skin passive that we had talked about before. Of course, there's also the family bonus here, so it's going to be really tough to kill Matrera, just, you know, based on the passives that are here, and people are going to forget that a lot and be like, why is Matrera just not dying? With the max power preview on, 973 attack, 913 defense, and 1778 HP when we turn that off. The stats look very similar to the previous hero, 809 attack, 791 defense, 1472 HP, so not much difference there. Heretic Slayer is the special, also at average speed, deals 650% damage to the target. Oh my dear lord. So this is a sniper. It's going after 1, and that is an extremely high amount of damage to go after 1, and it is probably needed in this day and age. Snipers have been passed. They used to be some of the best heroes in the game whenever the game was in its infancy in the first couple of years, but they have not been able to hold up with all of the AoE types of heroes that have been released over the last few years. So they've been falling behind. So here's their attempt at trying to make snipers relevant again. They've had to increase the damage to the point where it's probably going to one-shot the opponent. But 650% damage in this day and age might still not one-shot the opponent, potentially. I mean, especially if the other side has gargoyles and it's reducing the damage they're taking, and they've got rogue and stuff like that. Or, you know, maybe you even kill them, but they're the fighter class, so they revive and whatever. Oh my gosh, you know. So that's why snipers just aren't what they used to be. But they needed to get back to trying to get the snipers to absolutely one-shot an opponent. You know, that's what a sniper does, right? You know, most snipers at this point in Empires and Puzzles don't do that. They're kind of weak. If the target dies, the excess damage is dealt to each nearby enemy. There's another thing I like to see that's trying to help make snipers relevant again. Is that, like, let's say the opposing side has a problematic hero that you really need to get rid of, but it feels like a waste if they only have like 100 HP left and you go in there with 650% damage, and it feels like a waste of your special if you take it out with this, but you have to, you know what I mean? But now you don't have to waste it, you know? You get to deliver the excess damage to the nearby hero, so it's making the most of the sniper. I think they did a really good job designing this particular effect. However, what I can't tell from the wording here, and I don't know, maybe somebody can fill me in the comments, is that excess damage that's being dealt to each nearby enemy. Are they splitting the damage between the two nearby? Or, like, are they splitting it evenly? You know what I mean? 50-50? Or is it like determining the damage based on how much HP is left, such that if there's a nearby hero missing, let's say, you know, you've already taken out a few opponents on defense and now you're hitting one, but there's only one nearby hero. Is all that excess going to the nearby hero, or is half of it just disappearing to, you know, nothing where a previous hero was? Do you know what I mean by that? Let's say you've taken out the tank already. Well, you can't deliver the excess damage to two nearby heroes. That's not going to work on the defense anymore, you know, in a traditional defensive alignment. So that's interesting, and I don't know if some of that damage is being wasted or not, or if it's all going. Maybe we can do some testing to see if somebody gets Matrera, how that's actually working. But there are, at least in raids, defensive setups where you could potentially deliver that excess damage to everybody on the team, and that's pretty cool. But that's just raids. You know, that's not wars where you have the traditional setup and everything. All right, lastly, the target nearby enemies get negative 40% attack for 4 turns. So, I mean, that last one is like so-so. I mean, negative 40% attack is a lot. But that's also an ability that's never been one of the strongest in Empires and Puzzles, even since the beginning of time with the game. I think we can kind of ignore that last part. It's just a little extra piece they added on here. All right, so what do I think about Matrera? I think Matrera is absolutely more of an offensive hero than a defensive hero. I wouldn't use her on defense probably anywhere. Or him. I keep saying her, him, whatever. They. Matrera, probably not going to be used on defense. Definitely an offensive player. You're going to take Matrera, try and synergize with other heroes that do defense down, attack increase, that kind of fun stuff, to make sure that you're taking out problematic heroes as you need to, almost like a Swiss Army knife. This is a hero that's not as strong as the previous one we just looked at, mainly because snipers are having a really hard time in Empires and Puzzles right now. And this is going to be more of an offensive hero than a defensive hero. Probably not going to be useful against the Titan unless you just need it for that high attack stat and to deal a large amount of damage in a single shot. You don't really care about sniper shots on the Titan, but this is a lot of damage. You can do attack down, so at least the Titan's not hurting you as much. That attack down can help survivability with your team. Probably not an event hero unless you just need to get that gargoyle bonus, you know what I mean? But like otherwise, you want in events for heroes to be hitting everybody, and Matrera does not do that. However, this effect is kind of nice against the bosses, where like when you kill one boss, you can immediately transfer the damage over and work on the next boss that you're trying to take out. So for that reason, I'm going to give Matrera an A-. Now, you might have thought how I was talking about it, I was going to trend lower than that, but this is probably one of the best snipers in the game at the moment. They actually have been trying to put out snipers recently that are getting back to the strength that they used to be. They're not quite there, and I don't think snipers are ever again going to be super strong in Empires and Puzzles. So I think this is about the best they can do, which is why I think Matrera gets an A-. But when Matrera is good, Matrera is going to be very, very good and do exactly what you need, which is to kill opponents. You just can't use Matrera everywhere. So the flexibility is not there. Mainly an offensive hero, not a defensive hero, and not useful in all aspects of the game, but very, very strong at what the special is. But of course, this is just speculation. I want to know what you think, especially if you get either of these heroes and are able to test them out. Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. And I will catch you in the next one.